Just be blessed.
My name is Sue. I was raised in a Christian home. I'm one of 7 adopted children, and my mom and dad, my mom stayed home. My dad worked. He was an electrician. He was a very jolly, nice man, kind man. My mother was a homemaker, and she was a very sweet lady. They loved the children that they adopted very much. And I never knew my real mother, nor my real father. I had 6 children by my real mother that never knew any of them. Growing up was a lot of fun. We never had to ask for other kids to come over because we always had enough kids to play. We played hide and seek or whatever, and always played outside. It was just a lot of fun. One Christmas, my family decided that, or my mom and dad actually decided that they wanted to take us to Disneyland. They didn't tell us until Christmas morning that we were going to Disneyland, and we were so excited. We got in our little station wagon, all 7 of us with my mom and dad, and took off down the road with a vacation trailer behind us. We went down through the redwoods and we drove on down to LA. On the way, all of us decided that we didn't want to go to sleep. It was nighttime. We were not tired. We didn't want to go to sleep. And my dad kept saying, if you don't go to sleep, I'm going to pull this car over and you're going to wish you had. And he was generally a very kind man, but we knew better than to cross the line. So he was very patient for a long time, and pretty soon we felt the car pulling over, and we were sorry that we had not listened. He took us one by one to the vacation trailer, gave us a little spanking, and got back in the car, and we took off. We got to Disneyland. There was a lot of friends there that we didn't know that were going to be there. It was a lot of fun. And that was a very memorable vacation that all of us got to take. Probably the last one that I remember taking with everybody. My teenage years was really good most of the time. My 9th grade year was kind of rough because I went to a public school that I wasn't used to being at. I always went to a church school, all of us did, and so going to a 9th grade public school, it was quite a shock. After that, I went to a private school, and that was good. Had a lot of fun there in my 10th grade year. Made a lot of friends that are friends for life. Then I went away to a boarding school, Milo Adventist Academy, and I really enjoyed that. Made lots of friends. It was a very good experience. The teachers there were wonderful. They were good Christian people, always there to help. The principal was like a dad to everybody. He was a very kind man. And so I enjoyed my teenage years for the most part. When I got a little older, 19, 20, I started thinking about getting married. Got married about 20 years old, and by 21 I was pregnant with my first child, and very excited. I thought it was going to be just the most wonderful thing. Had the child, and things started getting a little rough with our marriage, and by the next year things were very rough. It was not a pleasant time. We actually divorced the 2nd year of our marriage. When I was going through my divorce, I wasn't sure where God was. I didn't know if he was still there. I felt like he had left because my husband and myself were my life. And when I went through the divorce, it was like half of me was gone. And it took me a while to be able to smile again and not sit and cry all the time. All the time I was crying out to God, where are you? What has happened? I don't understand. He brought me through it. He walked with me hand in hand with it, and showed me that he was there. So after I divorced my ex-husband, I re-met a man, and he was a very wonderful man. Not something I was used to. It was very nice to have somebody who really cared. And he was really good to my children. He took them in like they were his own. And before too long, we had another child of our own. And he was a very good dad, very good husband, helped me a lot. There was not to say that there was not rough times in our marriage, because there always is, getting used to each other and getting used to everything. About 2 years into our marriage, we found out that he had polyps in his colon, and that they were precancerous, and they would turn cancerous by the time he was 30 if he didn't have something done. So we went down to LA and had him assessed, and they decided that he needed surgery. And so we had surgery done. So that was a challenge, fighting back with that. And we were very proud to say that we knew God, and that he helped us through all of it. There was a lot of prayer going on. There was, all the way through his surgery, all the way through his getting well from that, recovering from not working financially. It was difficult, but God was there, always, always, always. We knew he was. So my son grew up into his teenage years, as all kids do, and you could say he was a normal teenager for a little while, but he became really rebellious, very rebellious. At 16, he ran away from home. He decided that he didn't want to obey our rules. We had sent him to Project Patch, which is a reform school, sort of. It worked for about a year, and then he drifted away, and that's when the trouble began. When he ran away from home, I didn't know where he was for probably 6 months. It really hurt. I mean, I couldn't stop crying. I was asking God where he was. I was begging God to bring my child home. And he didn't come home. And that was a very, very hard time. All through this, my wonderful husband was praying for me. And I was praying too, but your faith just gets shook. And I kept asking God, where is my son? What's happening to him? Please bring him home. Please save my son. It got to a point where I finally was able to trust God and say, okay, I trust him in your hands. He's going to be okay because you're there. I know you're going to take care of him. And I had to remind myself daily that God was there and he was going to take care of him. And Bible verses would come to me, that he gave to me, promises that he promised me. Praying mothers' prayers would be answered. And I had to trust that. And that's what I lived on. I went through life, normal. Nobody really knew that trouble was rumbling in our life, but I was troubled because of my son. He finally came home, and very haggard, very, very much not the boy that had left. And in the time that he was out on the streets, he would come to the house at night and knock on the window, tell my daughter, my youngest daughter, that everything was okay. He was okay. Tell mom and dad that I'm still alive and I'm okay. And then he'd be gone again. We never saw him. Cindy told us that he was there and that he had been there. So that gave me a little peace. But still, when your son's out there, it's very heartbreaking. So about 6 years ago, our insurance man called us, and he said, it's been a while since we've gone over your plan, your insurance plan. So why don't you come into the office and let's just take a look at it. And so my husband went in there and he said, you know, I noticed here that you don't have renter's insurance. Is there a reason why you don't? And my husband said, you know, it's because we figured it'd be too expensive. We didn't really need it. You know, we don't have a lot. And he said, well, it's not really that expensive. So my husband looked at the pricing and he said, okay, let's do it. So he did. And then about a month and a half later, I was so tired of all the clutter in our house. It just seemed like we just had nothing, just too much. And so I decided, you know, that I just needed to get rid of it. And I praying one day and I said, God, you know, I'm so tired of all the clutter in our house. I just want it to go away. You know, I just am tired of it. Just clean our house. About 2 weeks later, my son calls my husband on the phone and he says, Dad, there's a fire on our back porch and I can't put it out. I've tried with the hose. And so my husband told me that he said, just hang up the phone and call 911. And so my son did, called 911, got the fire out there. And my sister had come to live with us at the time. My son put my sister on his back and pulled her out of the fire with flames shooting over him, he said. And his friend was there, and he was on the back porch pulling stuff off the back porch so it didn't explode because we had propane tanks on there. And the fire people got there, and they were trying to put it out, couldn't get it out. Totally burned our house down. It was gone. Everything. Okay, so God cleaned my house. And it was a good thing my husband had gotten insurance. So that right there, God took care of us. While we were standing watching our house burn down, the insurance people were handing us a check saying, here's a check for $1,000, go buy yourself clothes and everybody that lived there, and get toiletries and whatever you need. And we're gonna put you up in a hotel. For 3 months we can do that. And so we thought, okay, a hotel maybe downtown. It was gonna be a kind of a mid kind of hotel. It was a 5-star hotel that they put us in. God just took care of us. And he gave us things that we didn't even ask for. He gave it better than what we would have asked for. And so that was a very big challenge. Started looking for a house. I saw a yard sale and I decided I'm going to stop at this yard sale because maybe there are some things that we could use. When I stopped there was a for rent sign in the yard. And so I got to talking to the lady and she said, oh sure, it's for rent. We're moving because we're going to buy a house down the road. And so she said, would you like to come in and see the house? So she took us in the house and showed us the house. It was perfect. It was just what we were looking for. Nice yard for the dog, and a nice sized house. And got a hold of the landlord, and in another month we were moved into that house. God took care of us there. He provided for us. We hardly had to do anything. It was just very, very nice. So I have a verse that I think pretty much sums it up. It's a verse that to me tells me that he's going to be with me no matter what happens. And it's Jeremiah 29:11. And it says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. To me, that tells me that through everything that I went through, God had a plan. He knew what was going to happen to me, and he had a plan for me and for Bob and for my kids. That to me means a lot. He had a plan for my son. My son is happy now. He's better. He's getting better. He's getting his life together. That's a plan. God had a plan. I feel very blessed being adopted into the family that I was adopted into. A very good Christian family. Who knows where I would have been if I hadn't have been adopted into this family. I am very blessed in my church. I have a wonderful church family. I feel that God has blessed me with my son and with my 2 daughters and 6 grandchildren. And I am married to a wonderful husband who has taken care of me and has stuck with me even through my silliness. And I just am very blessed with everything that I've been through, and God taking care of us through it all. Okay.